The silence in the room was heavy, thick with something I couldn't name. I had just won the argument, proven my point with perfect logic and undeniable facts. But the victory felt empty. It was a cold, hollow feeling that settled deep in my bones. This is a story from my early career, a cautionary tale about a young man so focused on being right that he almost lost everything that truly mattered. Back then, in my late 20s, I was sharp. I was ambitious. And I was completely convinced that the world ran on a single engine: logic. I believed that facts were the only currency that held any real value. Every disagreement was just a math problem waiting to be solved. If you had the right numbers, you had the right answer. End of story. The stage for this hard lesson was a high-stakes engineering project. Our small department was putting together a bid that could either secure our jobs for the next year or sink us completely. My boss was a man named Mr. A. Week after the meeting, Mr. Henderson called me into his office. He closed the door quietly behind me and gestured to the chair in front of his big wooden desk. He didn't look angry. He just looked tired. He leaned forward slightly, his voice low and steady. "It was never about your numbers, son. Your numbers were good." He paused, letting that sink in. "It was about the stage you built to present them. You took an internal disagreement, something we could have solved in 5 minutes right here, and you turned it into a public spectacle. You forced everyone in that room to choose a side." His eyes met mine, and I saw the deep disappointment there. Leadership, real leadership, runs on trust. It's like a bank account of goodwill. And in front of everyone, you torched that trust just to prove you were the smartest guy in the room. He was right. I hadn't just corrected a number. I had publicly humiliated a good man. I had made him look foolish to his own team. The cost of being right was everyone's respect. Henderson. He was a good man, a respected old-school engineer who trusted his gut and decades of hands-on experience more than any computer. He saw engineering as an art, built on wisdom. I saw it as a science, built on data. And that difference created a quiet tension between us that grew with every passing week. The breaking point came over a single, critical calculation. It was about the stress tolerance for a key material in our design. Mr. Henderson insisted on using a conservative number, a safety margin he had relied on for 20 years. It was proven. It was safe. But I had run new computer simulations. My data showed we could use a lighter, cheaper material. My numbers were precise. They showed we could push the limits, save a lot of money, and still be within a safe range. It was his experience against my data. So, in a big meeting with the whole senior team, I laid out my case. I presented my charts, my graphs, my irrefutable data. I walked them through the simulation, step by step, until there was no room for doubt. When I finished, a tense, awkward silence fell over the conference room. Then, one by one, the other senior engineers grudgingly admitted my numbers were correct. I felt a huge surge of pride. I had won. For a few days I walked on air. I had won. I had proven my point with facts and data, and in the world of a young, ambitious man, that's the only victory that seems to matter. I felt smart. I felt validated. A few of the other young engineers would give me a quiet thumbs up when the boss wasn't looking. They saw it as a victory for the little guy, a moment where logic beat experience, and for a little while I believed them. I thought I had struck a blow for truth. But the feeling didn't last. The victory felt strangely hollow. It was like winning a race and turning around to find you were the only one running. The silence that followed my big moment was heavier than any argument. That's when I started to notice the change. It wasn't loud. It was a shift in the air, a quiet chill. Mr. Henderson, my boss, became distant. He still spoke to me, but the warmth was gone. He was polite, but it was the politeness of a stranger. The easy collaboration we once had in our team vanished. Ideas stopped flowing freely in meetings. My colleagues, the same ones who used to argue and laugh and build things with me, became cautious. They'd look at the boss, then at me, and just nod. The trust was broken. About a week later, Mr. Henderson asked me to step into his office. I braced myself for a fight, but he was calm. His voice was quiet, which was far more terrifying than if he had been yelling. He looked right through me. He said, "Son, you were right about the numbers. I checked them myself. But you were wrong about the moment. You made the goal about being right, not about getting it right, together." Those words hit me harder than any shout ever could. He explained that in any group of people working together, there are two currencies. The first is the currency of facts and logic. It's important. It's how you build things that stand up. It's the what of the work. But the second currency, he said, is trust and respect. It's the how of the work. I had spent all my capital proving a fact, and in the process I had made myself bankrupt in the one currency that actually holds a team together. You see, the true goal in a partnership, a family, or a company is not for one person to be proven correct. It's for the entire group to arrive at the best outcome. The real victory is a shared one. My obsessive focus on my own validation, on hearing the words, "You were right," had sabotaged our shared mission. I was so busy trying to win my own little battle that I had forgotten we were all supposed to be on the same side of the war. I had to learn why I did it. And it wasn't about the project. It was never about the truth of the numbers. It was about a deep, powerful, and very quiet need inside me. The need to be the smartest person in the room. That need is a shield. The ego builds it to protect itself. It whispers that if you are always right, you are safe. If you have the last word, you have control. If you are the smartest, nobody can question your value. That was the real engine driving my foolishness that day, a desperate need for validation. And here is the great paradox of it all. The more you fight to prove you're right, the less influence you actually have. People might nod their heads, they might agree with you just to end the argument, but they stop listening, they stop trusting. True, lasting influence isn't built on a perfect record of winning debates. It's built on a foundation of trust and respect. It's something people give you freely, not something you can demand with facts and figures. In that meeting, I had won a tiny battle over a number, and lost the entire war for respect. So, how could that young man have handled it differently? The answer is simple, but it takes humility. First, he should have walked to Mr. Henderson's office before the meeting, a private conversation. It shows respect for the person and their position, not just the problem. He could have framed his point not as a correction, but as a collaboration. Instead of saying, "You're wrong," he could have said, "I was looking at this data and found something that might be useful. Could we take a look together?" It turns a confrontation into a team effort. The language we use matters more than we know. Using words like "we" and "us" makes a huge difference. Maybe we can figure out the best way forward. It takes the focus off of who is right or wrong and puts it where it belongs, on solving the problem together. And finally, ask questions instead of making pronouncements. A question invites conversation. A statement can feel like an attack. Simply asking, "I'm curious, Mr. Henderson, what are your thoughts on this part of the report?" opens the door for dialogue, not a duel. It shows you value their wisdom, not just your own. So, when you find yourself in that moment, that tense meeting or that difficult family talk, start with a simple question. Not a question to trap them, but one to understand them. Ask them to walk you through their thinking. This simple act changes everything. It shows you value their perspective, even if you don't agree with it yet. It turns a potential fight into a shared puzzle. You're not just waiting for your turn to speak. You are genuinely trying to see the world through their eyes for a moment. What are they worried about? What experience are they leaning on? When you understand their why, you can address the real issue, not just the surface-level disagreement. It's about finding the root of the problem, together. A powerful phrase I learned far too late was to say something like, "Help me see it the way you do." This isn't surrender, it's an invitation. It tells the other person that you're on the same team, trying to find the best answer, not just trying to win. It takes the ego out of the room and puts the problem on the table instead. Suddenly, it's not you versus them anymore. It becomes both of you, side by side, looking at the challenge. This shift is where the magic happens. A wall of resistance can turn into a bridge of understanding. You stop fighting for your own idea and start building a better one together. That's true progress. And this lesson, it goes far beyond any office. It applies to the kitchen table with your spouse, a difficult chat with your children, or a disagreement with an old friend. In every single relationship, the currency of trust is worth so much more than the fleeting satisfaction of being right. It's a universal truth. Thinking back on Mr. Henderson, that chill between us never truly went away. I kept my job, but I lost something more important. I lost the easy mentorship, the open door, the feeling that he was in my corner. My little victory created a quiet, invisible distance that lasted for years. The real failure wasn't that we disagreed. The failure was my inability to see the bigger picture. We had a chance to combine his years of experience with my new data. We could have created something stronger than either of us could have alone. Instead, my need to be right broke that possibility. Years later, sitting in my own quiet office, I finally understood the lesson. A life well lived isn't a scoreboard of all the times you were right. It's a tapestry woven from moments of connection, of shared discovery, and of mutual respect. It's about the strength of the bonds you build, not the arguments you win. You see, you can be right and be all alone on your little island of facts. Or you can be a little less certain, a little more curious, and be part of something bigger. You can choose to build bridges instead of walls. That choice is presented to you almost every single day. So think about it for a moment. That last time you dug your heels in, needing to prove your point. What did that victory truly get you? And what might you have gained if you had chosen to understand instead of to win? The answer to that question can change the entire direction of your life.